All right, welcome back, Fam. We have two guests for you today. So let's talk about first how I found out about them. So one of the main producers of the Geekscape Network, Matt Kelly, introduced us to Marissa Pona and Vanessa Wright, who co-run the Renegade Film Festival. He suggested them because their film festival is horror-based and really concentrates on marginalized voices. So he thought they would be great people for us to talk to. And I got to listen to their episode on Horror Movie Night, which is a podcast that he co-hosts, also part of the Geekscape Network. So if you guys haven't listened to Horror Movie Night and you like horror movies that aren't necessarily the most popular, well-known ones, there's some on there. I was just browsing the titles. I was like, oh my God, they did that movie? That's hilarious. So check it out if you're a horror fan. Highly recommend. But these ladies run the Renegade Film Festival. As I said, it is horror-based and marginalized voices. They went from the Women in Horror Music Festival and just really expanded it. So it includes not just horror too, they've got a little sci-fi and thriller and, the genres. But yeah, all of the voices, we're expanding it to LGBTQ and race and disability and just all the voices that don't always necessarily get to share the spotlight, which I think is really important. And then individually, the girls are doing their own shit, man. They are successful women in the industry. They're both filmmakers, and Marissa co-hosts Jersey Ghouls, which is another horror podcast. Also highly recommend. They have a lot of fun on the show. Guys, listen, if you're a horror fan, DM me because I've got a ton of podcasts and internet zines and all kinds of things I can direct you guys to.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does.
But I think you guys will really enjoy this episode. We had a lot of fun talking to the girls.
The best of times.
Yeah, for sure.
They're a lot like us in the respect to in their partnership. So we love, finding those healthy, well-balanced partnerships that we strive to be. Because it teaches you just learn a lot too about what they've been through and what they stand up for, and so there's just a lot of great takeaways, but also just a lot of nonsense and fun that we have in our partnership too. So I think you guys will just love the camaraderie. I love that word. It's hard for me to say, but I love it.
Camaraderie. It's a little bit of a tongue twister,
right? But we're all just love what we do so much, and I think you guys will also just have fun listening in. So
yeah,
on that note, enjoy radio voice.
always And then you were both in Atlanta. Are you from Atlanta or just the festivals in Atlanta?
I live in Atlanta.
Okay.
I'm not from here, but I've been here long enough that I think I'm considered local.
No. Don't worry, I will never consider you from Georgia.
Well, it's so time. I've been here since 2001, so I'm kind of
oh wow,
fuck, that's a long time. I'm old lady.
Yeah, but you still have Northeast sensibilities, so you're fine.
Fair.
We can't lose those. We can't.
No, exactly. That's right. The West Coast, you got to be careful too. You don't want to lose your East Coast sensibilities.
Exactly.
100. No, Vanessa, I totally feel you. I can't believe it's been past 7 years living here, and I feel once you hit that decade, you're fuck, I am.
Yeah.
I am. Which cool. Happy to be on the West Coast, but don't want to lose the Northeast sensibilities. I love that.
No. It's crucial.
No, it's true. It's true. And I'm happily holding down the fort in the Northeast in New Jersey. So
Jersey.
Yeah. I love a good Northeast transplant in LA. I feel like those are my people when I go to LA.
Always.
Yes.
Oh, that's why Tessa and I get along so well. We found each other in an acting class, and it was bam, I fuck with this girl. She is on the same wave with me. We just go, we get it done, and we have some fun, and we can just be straight up. It's great. We love it.
For our listeners, just kind of give us a real quick who you guys each are individually, what it is you do besides the film festival, and then we'll get into all of that. But yeah, just let us know who you are, what you do, all about you.
Vanessa, why don't you start? You're the real brains of this operation.
Oh, stop it. You're telling lies again. Yeah, so I am independent of the fest. I am also a filmmaker. I write and direct. I'm a mom. What else? These are the questions that like should be the easiest. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck I do.
Who am I?
It's always
Like,
like,
existentialism.
what's your story? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, I don't know. I like cheese and coffee, not together. Although one time I did have some cheese sticks with a cup of coffee, but I don't recommend it.
I just had my dad visit, and it's actually like a very Colombian thing to like dip your cheese. They have like a mountain white cheese in their hot chocolate or coffee. What? So cheese and coffee is a thing, y'all.
It's a Latino thing. Yeah, my family rocks it too.
Hey. Who knew? Make me honorary because I did it. Didn't even know. And I was like,
you gotta do a few more things than eat some cheese with your coffee to be an honorary Latinx. Thank you.
So she likes cheese, she likes coffee. And what stories are you passionate about writing or directing? Like what got you kind of started there?
There's a wide range of stuff that kind of gets me. It really depends. I think really clever humor will grab me a lot. As far as horror goes, I think anything that has a lot of atmosphere and allows me to really peel back the onion and play with a lot of layers and subtext, that gets me super excited.
Love that.
Short answer.
Yeah, no, that totally works. And what about you, Marissa? Tell us about yourself.
Hi, my name is Marissa, and I enjoy long walks on the wrong interview. I'm sorry.
I was like, you're doing better than me.
Wrong interview. No, I have to say that about 5 years ago, I like to think of Vanessa as my gateway into all of this magical world of indie horror and filmmaking, because about 5 years ago, she let me PA on a set for her, and I was just a bumbling idiot, and I just stood around and marveled at her talents, and have always I stalked her a little bit for a couple years. Little does she know that this year, when we finally officially partnered up, it was like single white female for her. Like, she doesn't know yet, but she will.
You were like, the plan.
She's going to show up in Jersey, and I'm going to be dressed the same way, and it's going to get weird. So, I am absolutely
matching buns.
Yes,
perfect.
Everything. I'm just beyond honored to be partnered with her for this film festival. In addition to being partnered with someone who's an incredible filmmaker and festival director, I am also in Jersey Ghouls, the podcast, and I am also a mom, and both to dogs and to children. Although who knows which one I'm doing better? Probably the dogs.
Well, your dog doesn't go back into the woods and like.
No, that's true. And
do
satanic rituals. That's true. So
yeah, exactly.
You're doing better there.
Yep. And, yeah, I'm just thrilled. Yeah.
That's amazing. And so you guys met in person, because we know the stalking period could have varied.
Sure. A couple years.
Yeah. At the fest, I think, was our first face-to-face meeting.
Oh yeah, and it was hysterical because she was like in a glitter suit, and like everyone, surrounded by incredibly important people, and Heather Langenkamp and Adam Marcus and all these amazing human beings. And every time I was like, I'm gonna go talk to her, watch. I'm gonna be so cool. And I'd like walk up with my drink in my hand, and then I'd chicken out. And
I hope you were doing those jazz hands.
Whoa, that's how I always walk around bars. Yeah, and on our podcast, it's great. But yeah, they're really some sick moves. And I chickened out every time I maybe spoke 3 words to her.
Little did you know, so this past fest, my glitter suit, I need a stylist. I need someone to help tell me what to wear. I've been standing outside. We're getting to walk in for opening night, and Amanda West is like, "Oh, look what you've done." I was like, "These are pajama pants."
Nice.
Ladies, I want to make a quick distinction, because I think I got a little confused, but for our audience to know too. So the Women in Horror Film Festival, that's the festival you both were a part of starting back in 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And now you launched your own film festival?
It's the same fest. We rebranded. Yes, it was time to evolve and grow. Honestly, I think, the Women in Horror Film Fest was launched in 2017 was our first event. Mm-hmm. And I think it was great. It was needed at that time. And I think as the years started to go, I started realizing that I think we were missing a huge chunk of some underrepresented voices, because the name in itself, you know, led a lot of people to think like, oh, you have to be a woman and I'm like, oh, read the fine print. So we decided to rebrand and really try to open our doors a little wider to be a little bit more inclusive.
Love. And so it's the Renegade Film Festival now, rebranded. And what are, just building on that, like what is it really encompassing now? Because I feel like horror is still like a big theme, and I want to hear more about like what types of horror like you both specifically like, because there's so many subgenres, right? And
and we take them all.
That's awesome.
Because it's a pretty wide umbrella. Marissa, you answered this one because you're better with the words when it comes to...
that's not, well, thank you. We definitely are still very much a genre festival. I mean, we love and take any sorts of horror, and we tend to kind of break it into categories when we're creating blocks and kind of marketing the films for the filmmakers. But we realized that we were really missing so much of the underrepresented and often marginalized voices, especially in a genre that can be, let's be honest, super toxic and still very, very misogynistic in a lot of ways. So we were kind of combating that and doing it in a way where we were like, well, let's not just limit it to women, let's branch out. And now we are so stoked to be really representing like BIPOC voices, LGBTQIA plus voices. I mean, just even Freaky, the screening from Blumhouse that we're getting for the festival this year is written and directed by people in the LGBTQ community. So we're really focused on elevating voices that often don't get a seat at the table. And we'll take any genre. I mean, personally, I am a huge fan of anything that, like you said, like Vanessa said, has a little meat on its bones, but we get so much from so many different places. And it's so cool to just kind of experience what horror is becoming as we continue to evolve. And it's just really exciting.
And looking beyond the director's chair, you know, I think a lot of these kind of genre specific events often, you know, try to look primarily at the director, honestly. And so much more goes into making a film. And I'm saying this as a director, like ego out the window. It is a team sport. And there are a lot of heavy duty creative roles. And so we really try to honor that. So our criteria does look beyond just the director's chair.
Yeah, I first came on as a screenplay judge, and I'm an English major at heart, and that's where my background is. And like, I was floored by the talent of the writing. And I feel like we do celebrate a lot of different people in a lot of different positions. Like, we look at the actors, we look at the directors, we look at the writing, and it's kind of one of the cool things. And just as someone who was a fan, when I went to my first festival, the vibe and the feeling of inclusion and just like the safe feeling that the festival was a magic that I had never experienced at any other festival or con or anything like that. And that's really what I fell in love with and why I'm here, is because I really believe in this idea of creating a space for filmmakers in the horror genre that is so inclusive and so celebratory and kind of checks all that toxic crap at the door.
I agree. And it was a shaky year that first year because, you know, Harvey was going down and you might need to edit this because I don't remember which it was, so correct me, but was it Fantastic Fest? That year there was some serious,
there was a lot of
there
really
was some
cringy
toxic back stuff, you know, stuff going at some like really larger tier genre fest and everything else. And then here we were, first year fest, and I'm like, oh shit, people are going to be like really hesitant to come. I think they're going to be nervous. I don't know, you know, we had celebrities coming that first year, which was kind of unheard of. I think
that's cool.
We got like, well, I've got a lot of friends and family that do a lot of big studio stuff. So it was like, hey, I know so-and-so, do you want me to put you in touch? And I was like, yeah, please. Like, I'll never forget. So my cousin was on American Horror Story, and she behind the scenes, not on the show. And she was like, oh, you know, you should talk to Heather Langenkamp. And I was like, I should. How do we make that? And she reached out to her and she was like, oh, I gave her your number. She's going to be calling. And she did. Like, I was like, hello. She's like, oh, hi, Vanessa. This is Heather Langenkamp. I'm like, I know who you are. I'm going to not freak out right now. 45 minutes later, she's like, what can I do to help your fest? I think this is amazing. And she called everyone she knew. And I was like, okay. Come party. This will be great.
She's still one of our biggest champions, I would argue.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome. That's so awesome to have that support.
Yeah,
and
I told her, I was like, you're stuck
you...
with us now.
Yeah, you're part of the family, whether you like it or not.
That's right.
But I love that you guys mentioned how you're concentrating on filmmaker being like everything, not just director. And I think that that's so important because we do automatically think of director being the filmmaker. And I know for me, it's important that like I label myself as an actor and a filmmaker. In filmmaking, mostly what I concentrate on is producing. But Carolina and I do independent filmmaking, so you do everything. But like she likes to concentrate on producing and directing. I don't like to direct. So, for me, it's important to just say filmmaker because I do have a hand in more than just that one label,
she does.
And it's not just, and it's not directing specifically. So I really like that you guys do that,
I feel totally the same. I feel completely the same.
Well, especially in independent film, which is obviously what the fest really showcases. We can get a couple of studio pictures here and there to screen, but really it's independent cinema. And as independent filmmakers, we don't have the budgets to hire all of those people and to say, you do this and you do that. Like oftentimes if it's your film, if it's your baby and you're sweating and bleeding for this thing, you're going to be doing a lot of it. My first film, I was producing, I was crafty, I was directing, I wrote the script. I also did wardrobe,
assistant to the regional manager. She did everything. Amazing.
And you hope that you have a good enough support team that everybody's like, this is not, we run things professionally, but it's like, look, if I'm picking up sandbags, so are you. So let's just go and get it done.
1,000%. So I love that you celebrate all that because it is a team, very much a team effort in the independent space.
I think creatively as well. How many times you get together with someone, you're like, okay, I have an idea for a film. Here's the script. Now, what do we need to do to make it happen? And that's when the magic starts happening because you've got everybody who's putting in input. And then, you're working with your cinematographer who's going to be like, oh, well, if we do it from this way, or what do you think about this? Or let's try this. And then that's their input. And then you've got special effects offering what they can do to work. It's so much creativity goes into it beyond that singular person.
And I'm just pumped that somebody else said that they love to produce, because I feel like whenever I'm like, I love producing, people are like, really? It makes Vanessa and I a great pair because she's a director and I'm a producer, so I'm just buzzkill.
And I don't like producing.
I love it.
I take that back. I would totally do it if it wasn't my own thing that I wouldn't want to wear two hats. But if I'm wanting to direct something, no, I have to. Marissa's stuck with me, and
that's perfect because there's nothing I love more than Debbie doubting your crazy ideas. So.
Right. You guys are us. Wait a minute.
This is like us.
She'll be like, "Can we blow up an entire town?" And I'm like, "Of Legos."
I'll get you a real nice model. You can do it.
No, and I think that's what Tessa and I have talked about this numerous times on the show, that's like what makes our partnership so great because I think you can respectively challenge each other. It helps you figure out creative solutions, which is I think the biggest thing is if you're just hearing someone else who is coming at more logically when you need to be more creatively at a moment, and then vice versa. It's just
that's what independent filmmaking is. It's creative problem solving
all the time.
Period.
Period.
Just to give a concrete example to our listeners, because we've been talking about the feature that we're working on for a few episodes. When Carolina first came to me with the idea, just a very, broad, basic idea of it, I was like, I really like it. It sounds really interesting, but it sounds like it's going to be really expensive. I don't think we can make this as a feature and afford it,
Right.
And I was like, but, write it down, table it, we'll come back to it someday, whatever. And then eventually she did, and she made it into a micro budget, and we're going to be able to produce it now, So it was just that balance of here's this really cool idea. And it's yeah, it's a really cool idea, but we got to be realistic. Okay, let me go on, and just that back and forth. And
And Tessa's advice to just write it down is just so key. I think a lot of times, don't let that idea go. mark it down, because you never know what you can creatively come up with later.
Mm-hmm.
And it's evolved into a
absolutely.
better story anyways. Like, I love the parameters that, or, kind of the low budgetness of it has made it a better story for me. Yeah.
I tell writers that all the time. I'm like, don't like edit as you're writing for budget. Like just write your story, and a good producer will help figure it out and solve those expensive issues if there are any.
And that's what I love about producing, is like finding, okay, like I want to make my dream happen. So how do I do it? And then pitch it to Tessa so that she approves of it, and we can like make it happen.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's one of the things I love about the fest too, is like one of the biggest secrets to filmmaking that nobody tells you when you're spending lots of money to learn the art is that you have to have that tribe of people who believe in you and who will elevate you, but also put you in your place and be like, you're being ridiculous right now. And I feel like I have been lucky enough to find those people, and it was through the festival in a lot of ways, where I found actors whom I love and I trust, and people who I know have the same vision as me, and people who I know I can count on. And it's unbelievable the doors that will open to you just by being involved in festivals and kind of the indie circuit and life. I feel like I've created not only just like a network, but a family of people who I really like. Yeah, I think spring of 2023, you guys will be ready to launch.
Yeah.
Okay, it's recorded.
That's it. Now you have to. Yeah.
Now we have to do that.
That's actually why we're here, to secure the world premiere. We can go home now.
Yeah.
We're all done. Okay, bye.
All right, great. You guys can't change that. It's recorded. Bye.
Hey everybody, I'm Chris Fafalius, and I'm the producer of Krista Makes a Podcast and the host of the One Hit Thunder podcast.
And I'm Matt Kelly, host of Horror Movie Night and the producer / the head of content for the Geekscape Podcasting Network.
Between the two of us, we have, believe it or not, 25 years of podcasting experience, and we want to help you start your own podcast.
We know podcasting, and we want to share that knowledge with you.
So whether you're new to podcasting or you want some feedback on your currently active podcast, we want to help.
Or perhaps you're just overwhelmed with all of the editing work. Well, we can help you with that also.
You can contact us at info@weknowpodcasting.com for more information.
We're excited to help your podcasting dreams become a reality.
Marissa, I actually want to circle back to something you just said that I feel like I haven't yet had, but maybe it's because I've only been filmmaking for the past like three, maybe a little over 3 years, and haven't like completed enough projects to do the whole film festival circuit a couple times. And you just mentioned how many like talent and amazing producers, directors, the actors that you've met and built a community from. So does that, because we all know how networking can feel like, is it just going to the right festivals? Like how has that come about for you when going to visit festivals, or do you just like the networking of it? Because I think we can all like feel like, how do we do this thing? And we grab the beverage, and again, and
exactly. You do right. It's all about the flow.
How do you be a human?
How do we do this?
And Marissa's jazz hands.
No, I'm with you. I mean, listen, we're all of us here, maybe the exception of Vanessa, are producers at heart, right? We know how to work a crowd, and I do. But at the end of the day, I can't tell you how many times I've been at a table and been like, just heard things that like made me have like as you know, like as a Latino filmmaker, as someone who is a raging feminist woman, there have been so many times where I just know this is not the people for me, this is not the festival for me, this is not people who share my values. And in the world we're living in right now, it is so scary and hard to kind of draw that line in your own head and be like, while I'm a business person and I need to make smart decisions for my career, I also need to stay true to myself. And that's why I am absolutely in love with what we do. Because when I go to a festival along the lines of Renegade, something like Salem Horror Fest, or like places where our values are shared, and you know that you're in a safe space where people are going to do what you consider right, it makes all the difference, because you let your guard down and it's not just about making money and making business, it's about actually creating that community. So I would rather lose the big time endorsement or the big time deal anytime if those values just aren't for me. And that's why I think Vanessa works as a mentor and as a partner and as someone who's guiding me through this industry, is because she's done the same thing time and time again. She's chosen integrity, she's chosen to support the values that I know we both share. And that's what Renegade is. And you're right, it's about finding the right group. And especially whether it's LA, whether it's New York, Atlanta, all these places, there's so much bad and so much toxicity that like when you find something like what you guys have or like what we have, you got to snuggle up and just hang on tight to that and keep moving, because you'll find more and more, you know, it'll grow. So just don't give up on that. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. And I think like, I mean, we'll just concentrate on horror because it's kind of easy, but this of course includes a lot of genres, sci-fi, thriller, all of that stuff kind of falls into this. But like you said, it can be very toxic. It can be very misogynistic, but I feel like there is such a movement right now. And I don't know if it's like more LA, or I shouldn't say LA, but like entertainment community based, or if it is more bigger range, but I do feel like there's a really big movement right now of marginalized voices coming together in horror. And like, especially with the queer community, I'm seeing it everywhere, and it's so cool. And like, I have a friend, Ryan Larson, who helps run a online magazine called We Are Horror, which I recommend to anybody. They're on Patreon, $4 a month. You get to read it all. It's awesome. But they, in their magazine, have ads for other, you know, podcasts or websites or whatever. And there's so many for the queer community for horror. And I just think that that's so cool. That's such a movement right now, you know, and I think that it's so great that they're creating those safe spaces for those people to come together and share what horror means to them and share their horror stories that they want to write and produce and all of that, you know. I think it's just so cool.
Well, and it's about time.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I think for so long we can all agree like that this specific genre has been like the cool kids club, except that it wasn't really full of the actual cool kids.
Yeah, I was going to say we were never the cool kids.
No, but I mean, I think it's finally like trying to choose my words carefully because I don't want this to sound negative, but like the outcasts, if you will, or people who were made to feel like outcasts because they never found their tribe, they didn't find their people, you know, I think are finally starting to kind of come out, you know, from under our little rocks. And it's like, oh, wait, there you are. And, you know, everybody's coming together now and they're doing stuff, at least what I see, like the right way. Cause it's not about excluding people. It's not saying, well, now this is ours and you can't play in this sandbox. It's we're all here and we're going to make a bigger sandbox and let's all get in here and, you know.
I'm just saying, like, I think it's a very 2 steps forward, 1 step back thing. And I think that things like Renegade, places that are here to stay and not going to go away. You know, woke is the trend right now, right? You can go to Chick-fil-A and get your LGBTQ pride meal, but then they're going to give their money to people who are trying to oppress us. So it's like, there's so much hypocrisy and so much, oh, well, it's trendy to do it, so let's do it so we can check a box. And that's why I think places like Renegade, people like, I have to shout out the people of Nightmare on Fear Street here. We were on their podcast a few months ago, and they are LGBTQ creators, people of color, and they constantly comment on the problems within horror. And again, they even teach us like just how far we really have to go. But like they got attacked by another podcast who was 2 straight white people who came at them and were like, how dare you have a name too similar to ours? And to me, it spoke volumes of just how far we still have to go and how we can't just be resigned to be like, well, if Target's selling pride stuff, then we won. Like, I mean, so I think there's a lot of suggestion of, we're going to be here when the trend's gone. We're going to be here to watch every single moment of this fight because we're invested in it and our filmmakers need us. And that's our vision. So it's like, sometimes I get frustrated because I'm like, oh, cool. Please don't spend your money at a big corporate place that doesn't really support you. Buy indie crap, you know? Like, so I think we still have a long way to go, but you're right. We're in a good moment to hopefully progress.
Yeah. And I think that horror too, and again, genre films in general, things that aren't just in the mainstream, is like a great place for more marginalized voices to gravitate to, you know, because it is something unique. It is something that you can do a lot with and really tell these unique stories. And I don't know how to word this exactly what I want to say, but it's more kind of accepted into the general community, which doesn't matter in the end, but it's like you got to take the little ins to really make the movement. Do you know what I mean? What I'm getting at there?
I think it's the one genre that lends itself perfectly to I mean, it's allegory, right? I mean, you can take these horrific experiences that people, you know, have in their lives or you know, that are happening in society and express it and kind of work through it through the lens of horror. And
Yes, well said.
And horror has been that way since it began. Like, I mean, this is, you know, to throw in, Marissa, I'm going to let you take this because I'm going to bring up your favorite film. But, you know, Night of the Living Dead. I mean, that movie's not about zombies.
Yeah, I mean, this is literally to me the only genre that spoke to me as a young, marginalized Latino feminist living in the hood. Like it always just it resonated, and to this day, like I will always go to bat for horror because I think we're a lot, you know, we're a lot more meaningful than people give us credit for a lot of the time. So
I'm adding it to my watch list.
Yeah,
I love horror. So
yes, excellent.
Yeah. No, that's amazing.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is like, that's another, maybe not a movement, but it's something that I think is being really recognized a lot more now, is that trauma can, like, a lot of people with trauma gravitate to horror, and you would think it would almost like make it worse, you know, it's like more stress or more, but it really helps people heal. And I think that that's so cool.
It's funny you mentioned that because I used to do a whole podcast about inoculation theory and how like horror is our way of coping with the traumas of society around us, and how like if you look at the history of horror films, they always mirror the traumas happening in society in the moment. Like, for example, it's not a coincidence that the Saw films and like torture porn was big after September 11th. It was our way of making sense of the world around us. And if you look at horror of the times, it's always inoculation. It's a way for us to deal with our traumas. And I got to be honest with you, I don't know about you, Vanessa, but 9 out of 10 people that I work with in the horror industry are definitely traumatized by something and have worked that shit out through horror.
Yeah. I'm always like, God, we are a messed up bunch of people, but like, we're also like we're the last ones to like lay hands on anyone. Like, you know, this is how we work it out through art and through, you know,
storytelling and being able to like put our truth into it, which in a way can feel masochistic sometimes. And then but then you're like,
I think in general is kind of masochistic.
Now I'm dying to read that script, dude.
No, for sure, because you know I can't just, you know, everyone, especially for independent filmmakers, you kind of one of the first genres you learn that's like the cheapest to make is horror. And so I mean, being a lover of the genre in general, I'm like, I always wanted to do it, but it definitely made sense for Tessa and I to make our first feature length in that kind of micro budget capacity. And we both love psychological thrillers, but I was like, I can't just write, you know, I still just can't write something if it doesn't come from some sort of real experience that I've like had in my life or struggled with, or trauma, of course. And let's call it that. And I once I like really nailed the theme, I love that you guys both brought that up, that it's something that we just end up finding healing through the story and being able to, that is how the genre itself is created. It's just, you know, real life stories, and it could be just amplified, or the allegory. That's what you said, Vanessa. Just beautiful words from both of you ladies.
I'm glad you like them. I only have a few.
No. It really well put, because that is what, you know, writing for me has been, and I love that we can find ways to heal or make others feel less alone is another big one for me. Is just like, you know, you're not the only one, and like, like, you know, we can talk about, you know, these themes.
I think it allows you to kind of face those demons safely. You know.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, you guys are saying what I was trying to say so much better. Thank you for articulating that.
No, you made the point. It's so true.
Yeah.
And it makes me that much more excited to see whatever you guys do come up with as a final product, because I just think that when your heart's in it and when you're telling a story that matters to you, it's always going to be so much more beautiful and, you know, meaningful.
Oh, yeah. And that comes through.
Always.
It always comes through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that's why it's like important to stay. I love that you bring up, stay true to yourself and like who you are and what you want. Because it can feel scary. You can feel, because, you know, it is going to be judged at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But if you're true to you, then it doesn't matter what anyone, whatever criticism's coming, it's like, no, well, this is authentically real to me and what I feel. So, it is
and
what
it's
it is.
so subjective. I mean, listen, I've seen so many films that, on the surface, you can be like, that's a good film. This is not a good film, but when you know that the artist behind it has passion and they are passionate about this craft, like you can throw all that technical shit out of the window and fine, maybe it's not a great film, but you can feel that passion and the love for it. And I respect that. And I will always support artists like that because to me, that means more to me than somebody who's got all the technical stuff down and they know how to put together the formula just right to make a film. But if there's no passion there, I'm like, okay, so what? You made something, it's pretty. Big deal.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. It's like, everybody's going to always have different opinions on any film, right? Some people are going to like it, some people aren't. But like, you always think like, oh, well, like objectively, is it good? Like, even though I don't like it, I can say if it's good or not. No, even that's going to be a different opinion from everyone,
Right.
So you can't get caught up on that as a filmmaker, first of all, because you're just going to be disappointed, but.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I think the goal is never to achieve any type of perfection, like create the thing, learn all the lessons you can from that thing. And then when you make the second thing, it should be a little bit better and it doesn't necessarily, it needs to be better in your eyes. Like it needs to show, better is the wrong word, growth. Growth is what it should be. There should be growth.
Yeah. And I think, I think it really does go back to doing it for the right reasons. Cause one of the things that I have loved about working in a partnership with Vanessa is we will not hesitate to walk away from something if their values don't align or if it's not a good environment for us, like mental health, physical, whatever. And I am so proud to be a part of that because we have prioritized our vision and our beliefs and also what is best for us as human beings over anything. And that's why I will, fight on any hill with you because I know that you're in it not to be a rock star or I mean, you are a rock star, but like a millionaire or but
cute.
like, I mean, I did the trying to make the money thing and I never felt truly at home in those kind of arenas. So I'm proud to be in the one I'm in today,
And you are only going to profit more. Like you said, like more doors will only continue to open because you are so like specific then to who you are and you're like the people you want that it'll just attract. Like I firmly believe that.
I think so too. It attracts the right people too.
Agree with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Which is
it's hard to be inspired and want to do your best and shine your brightest when you don't feel honored to be there.
Yeah.
Well said. Yeah.
And I think we've all, probably especially as women, have experienced some level of that where you just feel like, oh, okay, you have me here because you were checking a box and I'm the box and okay, well, what do I do with that now? And I mean, it's happened before. Like I had a film at a huge horror convention that I was like, oh my God, I can't believe we got in this place. It's like 60,000 people. Like, this is going to be nuts. And then I was like, oh man, I was a fucking box that they checked. And then felt completely disrespected there for many reasons. And was like, well, all right, you're on my shit list. I'm going to go now.
Yeah.
Name a character after you and kill them off.
Yes. Love
that's how you get revenge.
That's how filmmakers cope, y'all.
That's right. That's right. No, I'm glad that Geekscape guru Matt Kelly hooked us up because I feel like you guys are totally on our same vibe and like I'm so excited to hang with you guys because you guys are totally like-minded and I'm pumped about it. I feel like
absolutely
every door that opens, you're like, yes, this is right. This is going to be a good relationship.
Yeah.
No, for sure. And again, that's like Matt Kelly just got that vibe right away. Like I was like, no, he's good people. Like this is like, I don't care about anything else then at that point because you just know you're gonna like, yes, the being able to be on this show with you ladies being connected in this way that he like connected us, like, yes, that's the kind of connections that will continue to grow. And
to speak a little bit to what you were saying, like, I think it's important to tell people, like, remain open because I think it's really easy to kind of get discouraged and jaded when you meet people over and over and over, and you're never finding it. And it's like, oh, I just want to give up. Like, my people aren't out there. I'm going to go crawl back under the thing and stay. It's like, to try to stay open, just try to recognize those signs like earlier. If you know, like, okay, I'm in the wrong place. These are not my people. I'm just going to walk away and open a different door.
Yes.
It's so funny. Yeah. It's so funny you say that. I'm sorry. Cause
No, Marissa, go.
You want to go? Oh, okay. You sure?
Yes. And I'll be sure to cut you off at some point.
Perfect. Yeah, please do. Cause I feel terrible. I didn't mean to.
No.
I'm terrible at that.
I'm literally the worst too. So
we're perfect for each other. No, I was just saying when I went into this official partnership with Vanessa, I had just come off of losing the biggest win I had ever gotten as a writer. Our screenplay had been chosen. We were moving on. It was like, it was happening. And one of the people who was involved in it kind of just threw the whole thing for a curve, and we wound up having to lose everything. And I had walked away. I had all but I had so many licks to my writing. And you're right. It's like when you meet the right people, like Vanessa's always elevating me and being like, I want to read that. I can't wait to read your stuff. Let me help you. Like, she's always like, like we workshop each other's writing all the time. It's like such a truly safe space where I can be like, I'm better for this. And I'm so glad that I didn't walk away, because I would have missed this amazing opportunity. And,
I feel the same way.
Aw.
Oh, look at us.
Thank you.
Bro.
Next up, matching tattoos.
I'm in.
Vanessa, you just said this too. The sooner the better, like, you feel that way about, a certain group. I agree. Like, I've gone in and think of it, if you're feeling like you're constantly being kind of tugged around it and just not meeting the right people, don't look at that as a bad thing. If that keeps happening, really look at that as a way for you to get practice at, staying strong to you and what you want. I've gotten more specific. I've, people in the pod knows, like, I've been like trying to do the whole freelance producer thing / like, am I really gonna have money? But I'm not worried about that anymore. Opportunity. But it's taken time for me to be like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I don't want that. Like, it just doesn't feel right to me to just settle for X, Y, and Z. And like, I've just gotten better at being stronger about what I do and what I want. So if you feel that way, listener out there, that it's like actually really good that you're going through that then, because then you're just getting more specific and you're feeling more passionate. I end up being more passionate then about what I want.
Well, and I think it helps you figure out what you want, and I am guilty of, I'm always like, oh, what if I'm overthinking this? What if I'm just let me give it some time.
100%.
And I give it sometimes way too much time. And I'm like, oh, I should have walked away like a lot sooner. And the older I've gotten, the better I've gotten about knowing what I want. I also know my worth. And
right, your mid-20s will do that for you.
Yeah. And it's
so true.
easy to want to be like, oh, I just want to help them out because I like them and they were nice to me and it was cool. So I'll do this for you. And then you start doing, you realize like, okay, people are taking advantage of me, to where like, it's okay to say no or to demand something in return, to be like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll write you a script, but it's going to cost you. You want me to come on board? I'll give you, I'll consult and give you a day for this, but like, you're going to have to hire me and pay me like you do the rest of these people. You can't just use me.
Amen.
Yeah. If you're trying to charge me for your services, you can fuck right off. No, I'm just kidding.
And I find that when I'm on the right team, like, I'll go and do more for that producer, even if like, I'm not being paid for it. Like, shout out to Sushi, that's what we call her, Krishnan, on the short film that I'm on right now. Her team is just so stellar, and I just, it's been like my real first experience working on a team other than me and Tessa. But I just immediately, we talked about, again, like the kind of stories we love telling, the empowerment that behind marginalized voices, and that's what we care about. And so we came together, and I'm like, and they're East Coast, so it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt when you find those people. It's always a good thing. So I'm glad I like made space, and I've gotten really good at just like, again, at the interview process, feeling it out really quick, rather than like, because I've been in that situation too, Vanessa, where okay, I'm like, I really like this person. Like, I like the person, but maybe the team isn't great. And that's just not, and they're not paying you, which at the end of the day, like, we still do need the money.
Which, and there's different ways of paying people. I think it's quick to jump to say, oh, it's got to have some sort of monetary value, but there is other kinds of value. And I think as long as whatever you are putting into your work or project, you know, that value is somehow being returned, you know.
Absolutely.
Like when you say you're paying in exposure, it's only actually exposure if it's not just your personal YouTube page that has 2 followers. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Clearly, you've been on the Jersey Ghouls YouTube page.
You know, I mean, we've experienced stuff like that with the fest where people will say, oh, we're going to give you coverage and we're going to do this and this and this, but you need to give us, you know, we want rooms and transportation and passes. And I'm like, but you have no engagement with your followers. So you're really coming out ahead. Like, it needs to be balanced. And I think balance across the board in life is important. You got to have balance.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we've made some pretty gangsta moves as far as like being like, oh no, like white dude who gets lots of credit and is super famous. We don't want you. We're going to take the no-name LGBTQ person instead. And we're going to bring them to, you know, like, and it's so easy and tempting to sell out. Like, I've been noticing that more and more as I get more and more involved, where I'm like, these people are offering us X, Y, and Z. It's like the devil is just sitting there and just wants to take, you know, and
I know,
you know, we're gonna keep it real, right? We're not gonna,
but you know, if
I'm
just going to go ahead and call it though. Like, if we get any, like, Brad Pitt's allowed to come. I'm gonna okay it.
I'll allow it.
That's fair.
You know what to say, buddy? He can stay with me. I'm just willing to make that sacrifice.
If he's, you know, that one's, we'll let him through.
We'll let him through.
Yeah.
For sure.
But like all these things you're talking about, like knowing your worth and finding the people that you want to be connected with and all of that, like that all comes with experience, you know. That radar of like, you know, figuring out who the bullshit people are, like that's built with experience, you know. So anybody that's discouraged listening to this, like, I know when I first came out here, I was like, oh, I'm a people person, like I can network, sure, no problem. And I would like go to film festivals and feel so fucking awkward and like not know what to talk about. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well now I have a production company, so I've got that to talk about for myself. But even if I didn't, I would know like, okay, well, let me go to this film festival because it's horror centric. And that's something I'm really interested in. So at least I know I'm going to have shit to talk about with these people, you know, and it's,
and you just hit the nail on the head. Like, go to the things that have value for you and that interest you. Like, I mean, I remember, I think it was 2002, we had a chance to go to Sundance and I was like, oh my God, Sundance, this is amazing. Like, I'm just going to go and hopefully I'll meet Wes Anderson and like life will be great, you know? But at the same time, I was like, well, what was that going to do for me? Nothing at the time, because I had not, you know. So I think it's important to find things that really get you excited. Like if there's, and it doesn't matter how big or small it is, like just do the stuff that excites you, that ignites that passion within you, because you'll have stuff to talk about all night long.
Yeah, Tessa's really good at that. I feel like we call her the mayor of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Because like from her East Coast peeps that come here and everybody she meets, and she's so good at like, going to finding cool things, events that are not even film related, guys. Like just like finding interests and people to connect with. She's such a great connector and communicator, and like really just embraces like all these cool things. Like and now
which is amazing.
Yeah, it really is. I love that. I love that so much, and that's something I admire about her. She's really good at that.
Well, that is the best person to be around because I mean, you're going to have adventures constantly throughout your life then, you know, and that's going to be awesome.
Just go out and do the things, guys. Like, trust me, I am no fucking guru at like talking to people. I just go do things. Yeah, just go do the things.
Yeah,
yeah.
Do them all.
Do the things. Amen. Talk to the people. You'll get better at it. I promise. I have not always been like a good communicator.
Well, and apparently, people find social awkwardness quite charming because I've somehow been able to roll for quite some time.
We have built an entire brand on social awkwardness, and I think we're killing it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
No, I love this. I'm so glad you had it on and that we could just like literally just talk shop and talk about
Yeah.
like
This is so fun.
what you guys are doing. So for our listeners, where can they stay up to date with your film festival? Like where all the handles, just pimp yourself
Well,
out.
film festival, and also individually, like Marissa, if you want to take a minute to talk about Jersey Ghouls too, and you know, everything that you guys want to share with our listeners. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Marissa, you go.
What?
Vanessa's like,
you look so ready. You were like, okay, and Marissa.
I know. She was like, I was like, oh, she's gonna kill it this time.
I do the same thing, Vanessa. I do the same. Every intro, Tessa's like, "Are you going or am I going?" I'm like, "You."
No, I go second.
Well, I wanna. You sure? Well, you do Renegade though, because that's your baby, bruh.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
You go first.
So, renegadefilmfest.com is our official website. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Because that's where the cool kids are.
That is where the cool kids are. You type in Renegade Film Fest, will pop up.
And also we are accepting submissions through the end of this year. So if you still have a film, a script, a short, a full feature, whatever, go to filmfreeway.com and submit to the Renegade Film Festival. We are running a special discount for back to school because, you know, those supplies, they get expensive. Those calculators my kids need are like $300.
True.
What's our code? Marissa's poor. That should be a permanent code.
I think it's hold on. You talk about more things because I don't have it on my face.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You're usually like the one who's actually got
I'm
like
usually
the shit
prepared.
together. Yeah. Like I'm the one who's like, you know, in the corner, can't remember anything.
Too cool for school, but it's
two.
the number 2 and cool is with a K. And then the number 4 and then school with a K.
Remember that socially awkward part we were just saying?
We'll type it out in the show notes.
That's what I made.
But that's
think this through when I made the code.
But that is our discount code for the month of September.
That's awesome.
And make sure you follow us on social media because we are going to have so many fun announcements and so many big reveals coming up for the show. We are so excited. The event itself is going to be March 3rd through the 5th in Marietta, Georgia.
Yes.
Where at the Strand Theater.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is so cool. And Marissa mentioned it earlier, but we did get the blessing from Blumhouse. We are going to be screening Freaky on Saturday, March 5th.
With a special, God, sorry.
Kennedy will be there. With some other people that we've not officially announced yet, but soon because we like to tease people.
That's right.
That's exciting.
Yes.
And as far as I go, besides the Renegade Film Festival, I am the second half of the Jersey Ghouls. So if you are into horror, we kind of take it from a half academic, half very comedic fangirl kind of way. I tend to try to bring out all kinds of great themes while my partner talks about the quality of the boobs in any given movie. And we just like to have a lot of fun. And we actually just dropped an episode with the director of Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Hell, which was amazing. Thanks to Vanessa. We had Adam Marcus on. We occasionally have cool guests. We hang out with all our other podcast friends and we have a good time. So check us out at any social media platform and on any podcast platform. You'll find us at the Jersey Ghouls. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thanks for listening to FemmeRegardPodcast. If you like what you hear, tune in every Friday for more tips on the filmmaking business and insightful conversations with industry professionals. We can only grow with your support, so please subscribe, share, rate, and review. You can also join the Fem Fam on Patreon. For more on us, check us out at FemmeRegard.com.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.